Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the Today's Business Leader podcast. I am Monika Alvarez. I will be your host today. And before I present this amazing guest that we have today, that he will be sharing his amazing journey, entrepreneurial tips, and just a lot of golden wisdom that he's going to be sharing with you, because this platform is for leaders like you. So before we get started, I want you to hit the subscribe button because we want to begin communication with you, sharing the thoughtful inspirations from other leaders. So let's get right into it. David Wolf from Audivita, how are you? Thank you so much for being here.
Monica, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be with you. It's Friday for those of us who, so you're probably listening to the recorded version of this. For us, it's Friday. So it's
Yes,
always a good
yes,
thing. I
very
like
blessed.
Fridays
Yes,
for some unknown reason. I like Friday.
absolutely. And it's the energy, the vibe, quality time over the weekend with your loved ones. So yes.
Yes.
And that is one of the blessings that entrepreneurial folks have. So let's just get started with the wisdom that you're going to be sharing with today's business leaders, David. Of course, you've been in this for a while. You know all the ups and downs. You know what works, what doesn't work. So the first question would be, when did you realize you had that entrepreneurial spirit?
I think I've always had it actually. I think from the time I was probably somewhere around 11 or 12 years old, I had a sense that I knew I was creative. I could draw, I could play music. I ended up having a relatively long career in the music business. First as a musician, a player, a drummer, and then a keyboardist, and then eventually a composer and producer. But from the very beginning, Monica, even as a drummer, I can remember thinking of that as a business. I was in the business of being a freelance musician, and with the business card and just a sense that it was a container for me to be creative in. And I think that
Beautiful,
continued for me throughout my life.
beautiful, beautiful. And that's actually, I mean, everything added up to where you are today,
Right.
offering
Right.
the, like you said, the communication for all your clients in Adivita. Tell us more about that.
So, I'm sorry. So the core of your question is, I'm sorry. I just need to make sure I laser focused on it.
So more importantly, you said that you started from an early age, that
Yes.
you had the
Yes.
entrepreneurial spirit with
Yes.
with the musicians and everything. So that's communication at the end of the day. You have that
Absolutely.
relationship. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
So
So
then that
from
brought you into what you are today, what you
y-
offer in Advita.
Yes, yes, yes. Even as a musician, I mean, it is absolutely you're communicating, vibes and signals and music, quite literally, and so it's very much a matter of communication. And I think I've always been fascinated with all things recording, microphones. I have photos of me at a very early age being just staring up at a microphone at a wedding. I think the wedding photographer took it. It's a fabulous picture. I can send it to you if you want to cut it in, but. I've always had a fascination. I mean, as a kid, I loved walkie-talkies. There was a guy on our block that was a ham radio operator, and I was fascinated with that. So I'm a pilot, and so I always enjoy
Ah,
talking on the radio as part of flying and the endeavor of piloting an aircraft. So I've always enjoyed radio communications, understanding broadcast media, and I found my way into a business that was all about sort of this abstract expression around music for commercials, music for children's programming. And that the first, I don't know, 30 or so years of my career after I was a musician was refocusing my musical abilities in writing and producing for film and TV and radio. So it followed into always supporting a communication or, creating the initial communication on some level.
beautiful, beautiful. And the most amazing part of what you're sharing, David, is that you stayed within your strength area, what you're passionate about. because sometimes life kind of takes you somewhere else because of responsibilities or just because of society telling you, no, you need to take this path. So for you was staying in the communication world. And look, today you're offering that to other people. So I love that about you. I really do. So
Thank you.
tell us more how you came about building what you've created so far with
Well,
Audivita.
I want to say, Monica, I want to say something that you touched on. And actually, as I was doing an interview yesterday, it occurred to me, someone, a very fine podcaster that I listen to a lot, has extrapolated from all the biographies he's analyzed. I'll give him a shout out. It's the Founders Podcast, David Senra. I've been binging on this lately. And so these are biographies of entrepreneurs. And something he pointed out that I want to just share with the audience in terms of staying with passion, which you just mentioned,
Sure.
is that when we do the thing we love to do, we do great, great work. And that I think is a Steve Jobs ism. But beyond that, we're often shaped by the fathers or the mothers, our parents.
True.
I think they have a strong capacity to shape who we are and what we end up doing. So I grew up in a working class kind of an environment. Neither of my parents are college educated. My father really, for the most of his life, did not work at things he liked to do.
Mm.
He was a very affable, nice guy. He was good with people. He could manage people well. He worked in a retail clothing environment doing, credit management, but it's not something he loved. And so when
Sure.
I think somehow it imprinted me observing that it was a grueling life. He was 6 days a week, long hours, particularly during the holidays. And
Mm.
I just started to, I think somehow that created a template for me to go the other direction and make sure I love what I do
Yes.
and do lots of it. And then I made money. I made good money doing it. So I think
Yes.
it sort of proves what you were telegraphing there about doing what you love. Therefore, the rest of it follows beautifully. So anyway, back to you.
I totally agree. I totally agree. But sometimes there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of disconnection from the real world and the internal world that you're like, oh, should I really take that path? I mean, I love it. Is it a hobby? Is it really going to give me, some kind of return? Am I going to be able to,
Yeah,
offer something to my loved ones, to myself? Can I
right.
build something? All of those questions. So let's dive a little bit into the internal world, David. Tell us about how you communicate with yourself, because at the end of the day, being a leader is about communicating with yourself to make those
I love
decisions.
this question, and this is a subject that I studied very deeply now. At age 65, I'm still learning constantly, and
Learn young.
that's going to be a part of my life forever. But the thing that has shifted for me is learning about people and how I communicate and how I show up and what my identity is, which is really a lot of what you're pointing to and what I am working on more and more. This is sort of the side effect of being a leader with a team.
True.
So how do I communicate with myself? I recently worked with a coach who introduced me to something called brain primes, which is a technique that allows us to sort of reinforce. It's kind of like affirmations, but you're
Okay.
saying them as though it has already occurred. You're sort of almost retrospectively. I'm so grateful that I created this, $10 million company, and now it's going on its way and it's doing great things, and we're having great impact on the world, and we're making money doing it with people we love.
Beautiful.
Things like it's a present tense kind of a
Hmm.
affirmational thing, and you record it. And so I practice TM meditation. I do transcendental meditation twice a day. So
Oh,
the most effective way to use this kind of tool is to do it just as you're coming out or as you're just about to go to sleep. So you're in what's called a theta mode from a
okay.
brainwave point of view, and you're very open to these kinds of suggestive, these notions of positive suggestion. So
Sure.
it sort of reads a little bit like affirmations. I guess some people just get up in the morning and say, "I am this, I am that, I'm this." In this case, it's like it already happened. The other piece is the identity piece, and I think a lot of us struggle with, and you kind of intimated at this a bit, as we're stepping into new roles and challenging ourselves in new, interesting ways, hopefully doing what we love with people we love to work with, we
Sure.
sometimes have an imposter syndrome that sets in where we're not quite. You have to believe before the capacity. The belief precedes ability and capacity to do the thing you believe in. So, for example, when I was first breaking into what we used to call the jingle business, the music for commercials and TV and radio, I was looking for work as an apprentice at one of the shops, and I grew up in Chicago, so I was actively shopping. And so I started doing a series of fake commercial demo reels to break into the business.
Okay.
But boy, did I have belief that I could do this. I really was at a point where I knew I couldn't make a lot of money as a drummer, and I really liked the art of drumming and doing that. But as a business model, it didn't excite me, and I just needed to move into something. And also from a creative expression perspective, I just needed to, the drums couldn't contain me. I had more to say musically, if you like, creatively. So I just remember like a bolt of lightning, believing so deeply that I could break away from my role as a drummer and move into a role as a composer producer. And so I just, that intensity of belief is very necessary. And it's still something that I hold with me when I'm stepping into new territory that may feel uncomfortable. It may feel like an identity that I haven't quite crawled into, so to speak. But I remember this belief before capacity. So, for example, I've been expanding the business constantly for the last 6-7 years since we started, and sometimes that just requires an extreme amount of belief because you're talking to other companies about acquiring them, or you're talking about them acquiring you, or you're talking about merging things together, and the numbers get bigger in terms of revenue, and if you're not, you just have to believe that you can go do it and just crawl into it, and it's kind of like diving off of maybe like skydiving. So
Yes, no. And I totally agree with you because every level of evolution, sort of speak, from personal and business, there's a different level of beliefs. Why? Because you
yes,
have to, I call it reprogram yourself in a way.
yeah, it's like
you're,
laddering up each
yes,
level.
it's
That's
like you're
right.
downloading different kind of information in
Right.
order to accomplish those new goals at the end of the day. So
That's right.
I love
And
that. I
and
love that.
teams and the team that for business owners out there, you may have
Hmm.
already realized this or have heard it elsewhere because it's been said before. But the team that gets you to from 0 to
Hmm.
500,000 isn't necessarily the team that's going to get you from 500 to a million or a million and a half or 2, 10, 5, 10 million. As
Yes.
a company and as a team, just understand that the gestalt, the essence of that core founding team, either they have to evolve into their identities into a larger business, or you need to replace those people with people that are comfortable stepping into the larger zone of revenues or
Sure.
production or whatever it happens to be you do. So
I totally agree. And I think
yeah.
it all comes down to mindset,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
exactly. Because at the end of the day, in every level of
Yeah.
entrepreneurial journey, you're going to have
Yeah.
challenges.
Oh yeah.
You're going to have a lot of failures. Sometimes you think, you have that vision, but it's going to take you detours, right? But it's the
Right.
mindset. It's what you do with those challenges. What do you think about that? I mean,
No,
how is
I
that
love that subject
transition?
matter.
How does it
I love
transition between
I
a challenge to an opportunity? How do you feel
Yeah,
about that?
well, I think that baked into being a business leader is business is just a series of puzzles that you solve, challenges you overcome, questions you ask, markets you find.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a constant pushing and moving conceptually
True.
into the future. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what business is.
Yeah.
And so that's one way I think about it. I also don't think, I think that what we call failure is really necessary. And you said
Mm.
it a slightly different way, but it's just a part of what we do as business leaders and as founders, certainly. I think, the bigger swings you're taking, the more dramatic the roller coaster up and downs tend to be. Um, and I think not everyone is built for that, or maybe more better said is there's a spectrum of capacity for people who start businesses to be able to deal with that
Sure.
emotionally,
Sure.
you know.
I agree.
So
I
that's
agree.
one way of thinking about it, I suppose.
But no, I think you
Yeah.
hit a couple of golden nuggets there, because you spoke about the team, which is very important because I mean,
Yeah.
I always say one person is just a very small number. You need that group of people that are in alignment with what you're trying to accomplish uh, in the world. So that takes me to my next question. What is the impact you're looking for? What is the impact you're trying to do with your business, David?
The impact? Well, it's interesting that word. I think you used the word impact. So I measure a lot of what we do, and what's interesting about the business that I've built. The music production business was very different in terms of my position in it. Nothing happened from a revenue or project standpoint unless I was actually in the studio writing music and working with clients. So it all centered around me producing a piece of music. What I was really looking to do was to create a more scalable model where I would leverage and create a context for extraordinary work to be done by people around me. So I formed a team of A players, or really strong people that would think shared vision, but they think very differently than I do. And we have one of the side effects of all of this in creating the business is, and that I didn't actually realize it when I started it at its inception, was that I would have an impact on this employee base that we have. We're impacting the lives of 7 full-time employees and then 30 to 50 freelancers every day. And I didn't understand that would be a quality of building a business like this. It wasn't something I'd done before. And so as I began to realize, we're feeding all these families, they all have children, they have families, we're impacting people, we're giving voiceover talent and actors work doing the books we produce in audio, or impacting the businesses of the people that we help produce podcasts. So the word impact strikes me as a very important piece of all of this.
Yes.
I'm not sure I remembered your core question. I may have drifted away. So get me back on track if I need to.
No, the thing is that impact is internally and externally at the end of the day with your business. Like you just mentioned, you're doing the impact with your team because there's a family behind every concept and every leader within your company, but there's also the clients that you're serving. You're creating an impact to their life, and it's
That's right. It's concentric. And in fact, even in terms of culture building and delivering value for your clients, if your team is really happy and they have high job satisfaction, and you've created a nurturing, loving kind of culture, people that love to work together, that absolutely gets communicated vibe wise to your clients constantly. And no matter what business you're in, that is a true thing.
Yes, and it sounds like you're running a successful business and everything, but tell us one mistake that you had to overcome in order to get to where you are now, David.
Well, again, that's a part of what happened. So about a year ago, I acquired a small operation, a business that did not prove to be something we could really activate in the ways that it looked like we could. I won't get into the details of it, but the experience was expensive. And, really, I'm not someone that beats myself up or looks back and say, well, you know what, because I think I needed to go through that process of due diligence, for better and worse. I needed to understand who I was buying the business from, what the actual assets were. And so I've decided to kind of close it down after about a year and a half. It was I'll call it a bit of a horizontal expansion, and maybe a roll up is a better word. It was also in the podcast space, but an operation that was a little bit nichier. And what I realized is it's easy to underestimate the risk and the resources required to relaunch a business or launch a business that you acquire. So that's one thing that I would say. And it's sort of a larger theme that actually hasn't been a part of the Audivita experience. Was years ago, I took over a commercial bakery operation out of after I'd closed my music business, and we bought the assets out of bankruptcy. It was a family business. The cousin that created the business had closed it down and left this, these assets to create bread and bagels and deliver them every day. And it was retail and wholesale. And so we took the wholesale environment and I ran it as a CEO for 8 years. We had 30 or 40 employees. We were delivering fresh and frozen bagels to a lot of well-known companies like Whole Foods and Wild Oats and U.S. Food Service and Cisco Foods and all the places you've heard of. And what's interesting about that experience is that the exit wasn't particularly lucrative, but the experience was very valuable. And I learn to better understand the risk in decisions we make, small, medium, and large. Even the small micro decisions can really leverage out if you're not really careful about fully understanding the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth order consequences of a small decision you make.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
so
that's a lot of wisdom right there. Yes, indeed. And going back to our initial conversation, you need to go through those failures in order to surpass it and get to what they call success, or more importantly, have a return of all the energy, time, money that you're investing in your business. So congratulations for that, for
I
overcoming that.
appreciate that. Yeah, no,
Yes.
and I just look. I'm still here. Nobody died. A colleague of mine used to say, "Nobody's going to die." No, I mean, we're okay. We're okay.
Sure, sure, sure,
Um,
sure, sure, sure.
and
Yeah. And
I've
then
hit a
again,
rock.
and
Yeah,
again, it goes back to the mindset, having that mindset of, okay, where is there opportunity here? What path should I take from here?
that's right. Where is the opportunity? And often, opportunities I've learned are either like right there in front of you if you're willing to recognize them. And
Hmm.
a lot of us are so myopically focused on what we think the opportunity is. And we may be inclined to miss something that's just staring at us in the face that we didn't realize. We've seen this with product innovation. The famous
Sure.
story is, the Post-it notes from, who was it that makes those? Sorry. Uh, the company that makes Post-it notes. What do they call? Well, anyway, that invention,
It's called Post-it. No.
maybe that is the company. It's the
Absolutely.
glue wasn't good enough, and I mean
Mhm.
there was an example of like a failure
Sure.
turning, making lemonade out of the lemons.
Hmm.
But that kind of experience where, for example, we've had very large clients come in unexpected ways. I sometimes like to call those side door black swan events where it's completely unexpected. And this thing just falls on your lap in the form of an opportunity. You didn't plan for it. You didn't know it was coming. You weren't prospecting for it. And here it is. And yeah, we can do that. They found us in some way, raised their hand and said, "Can you help?"
Yes. Yes. Well,
You
it's your
know,
energy, David. You attracted that. You attracted that.
Well, I appreciate that, and it
Yes,
has been said that my
absolutely.
energy can do
Absolutely.
that. Yeah, and I've had a few of those in my life where it's just
Mm,
like, some call it luck, but luck meets preparedness equals success. So,
true.
so I guess on some level, the team was prepared. I was prepared. We had the foundation to provide what these clients needed, and we jumped right into it. Of course. And you got to move swiftly when those happen. And
Yes.
as Charlie Munger used to say, you really go all in, into
Yes.
those
Speed.
opportunities. Yeah.
Speed. 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 And you touched something very important, your team. How do you keep
Mm.
them motivated so
Oh
they
my
can
goodness.
continue going
So
towards your
here's the
vision?
really interesting thing about that. It's a little ethereal, but the truth is that the people we have on our core team,
Hmm.
what I like to call the Fab Five, which includes me, it's Fab Four plus me,
Hmm.
is they are all very self-motivated. They each have run their own businesses at some time, or at least been freelancers in their own right. And so they understand business. And I think maybe pointing to a little bit, if I could be slightly self-serving, is that I did attract the right people at the right time in the right place. I didn't exhaustively search for this founding team. They kind of came to me. They're all local to our market here. We're in Albuquerque, New Mexico, as you know, and one by one they started rolling up into the business, and they were just available to do the work we had to do, and they started as a freelance type of engagement. And then ultimately when I started the business, I really thought that more of our team would be 1099, as we say, freelancers, so that we
Sure.
could expand and contract based on. But what I learned is to really create that core culture that we needed, and that I felt the business needed, was we began to create this base of employees. It's almost like cultural ballast. Everyone knows they're going to have a check, and as long as back to your original question, they are all self-motivated, so they don't need a lot from me. In fact, about a year and a half ago, I promoted our COO to CEO and stepped back from the operational part of our business.
You
So
mentioned
today,
that. Yes, yes, yes. I remember you in our first
so today,
conversation.
Erica Yoakum actually she's an very strong operator. I knew she had it in her to do this. It was a path for her from a leadership development standpoint, and I was really ready to step back a little bit. The next founder's dilemma, of course, is pulling me a little bit more out of the sales and business development side, which a lot of entrepreneurs, they call it the founder's dilemma, because it's a very common. It's hard to scale out your sales when you were the primary driver of business.
Sure.
So that's the stage we find ourselves in now,
Mm.
and we're working on it, and I continue to work on it. And I've had to take a few steps forward and then roll back, and then a few steps forward and roll back, and it's
Do
just
the eternal talk.
part of the game, man. No, it's
Yes.
just part of the game.
Yes. Wonderful, wonderful. So tell us more. What exactly is Audivita? What do they offer? Tell us more so the audience
Well,
can
thanks
know
for asking. Yeah. So
about
at
your
our core, we're
portfolio.
perfect. Thank you for that, Monica. So at our core, we are a content production company. We are a communications company. So we produce podcasts and audiobooks. Those are our two major business lines. We have a third business line that's sort of related, and that is we help our podcasters monetize their podcast through advertising revenue. We have one network that we work with who has been a client for about 4 or 5 years, and they generate a considerable amount of revenue in advertising just simply because the audience size is so big. But that's available for any of our podcasters that develop their audience to a certain size. We've scaled the business audiobook wise from partnering with mid-sized publishers and publishing service providers, hybrid publishers that white label or refer our service to their clients. So we become almost like an extension of their team, and we produce audio versions of the books that they're doing in print and ebook. By the way, audiobooks, it turns out, is the fastest growing digital part of publishing. You'd think it would be ebooks, Kindle, for example, but it
Okay.
actually turns out that people are using audio. Oh, there's been a huge shift to audio. And within the
Huge opportunity.
podcasting domain, podcasting now, I'll talk about that. There's been a huge shift into video, as we now are experiencing in the moment. So it's a very fast changing market, which becomes a challenge and an opportunity, to use your framework there.
Yes. Beautiful, beautiful. For our audience, I think that's going to be very helpful. So where can they find you? What is a good way to get in touch with
Best way is to go
Audivita?
out to our website. It's www.audivita.com. It's Audi like the car,
Mm-hmm,
Audivita, Vita,
mm-hmm.
audivita.com. We with the website, there's a lot there. There's samples of our work. There's testimonials from clients. There's frequently asked questions. And then there's the ability to schedule an initial discovery call with myself or Jay Spang, who also works with me on business development. And that's the best way to do it. And thank you for offering that information to your audience.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are here to, inspire each other, do the collaboration, share
Yeah.
our knowledge, our wisdom, and everything. This has been wonderful, David. Thank you so much for all the information, everything you have shared. We
Thank you.
absolutely love this. So, what is the one thing you want to leave our audience with? Your golden wisdom, pretty much.
Yes.
What do you want to
Well,
share with us?
I'm always borrowing from the people I learn from. Um, I like what Jeff Bezos has said, and many others have said about long-term thinking. You
Mm,
know, in a world where things are moving so quickly, it's
sure.
very easy to chase chase the squirrel, chase the shiny object. Um, Thinking in terms of like public companies think of, every quarter they have to report. I've really grown, and as I've grown more mature in my way of thinking about business, I think that long-term thinking is ideal for most entrepreneurs. You still have the moment of the day to deal with, but that long range perspective can really, really help. Don't move too quickly. You don't move too swiftly. Really understand those first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth order consequences of every decision you make. So there it is.
I love it. I love
Stuff
it.
I'm working on every day.
Long-term thinking. Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
there you have it. Amazing audience. Remember to hit the subscribe button. Thank you. Thank you so much, David. Big
Thank
hug.
you.
And I hope this is not the last time we are staying in
No,
touch.
let's check in as often as you like, Monica. Thanks for having
Absolutely.
me, and send my best to Gabe and the team over there.
We will do. Thanks
All right. Be
again.
well.
We'll be in
All right.
touch.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.